Morning, everybody. Morning. You guys are awesome. Thank you for being here today. And I'm talking to you folks online too. I really hope you can hear me because I did not do a mic check. If not, watch. Happy Sunday. And I say that remembering a boy that I went to high school with. His name was Rob Hoyt. And he used to celebrate most days of the week because, as he put it one Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday only comes once a week. You got to celebrate every one of them. I've often thought back on how wise that statement was. And I celebrate today with you because it's another opportunity for all of us to learn to change the habits and mindsets we've been living with for so long so that we can step into a life more wonderfully than we have ever dared to imagine. And so that we can get to that change sooner, I'm actually just going to jump in today. And I want to do that by sharing a quote from page 43 of Stillness Speaks by Eckhart Tolle. He says, "A simple but radical spiritual practice is to accept whatever arises in the now, within and without." We're talking about, am I still on lyrics there? Yes, I am. Hold on. There we go. We are talking about judgments these next few weeks. But again, being in the now is an important part of that. And as I said, I'm doing the next few series of talks in a very specific order for a very specific reason. We started by going out of our minds, so to speak, right? We stopped thinking our way through life distractedly and we stepped fully into the moment, into the now. But see, we have to stay out of our minds if we truly wish to overcome judgment permanently, to separate from ego and leave it behind, and relax into permanent forgiveness, a state where we let go of everything we've been holding on to and stop taking on more baggage. So far, we've looked at how the fear of judgment diminishes our belief in ourselves and strips us of our divinely given personal power. And last week, we saw how we tend to get all judgy and finger pointy, only to realize that we're projecting our negativity on everyone else because we're really second-guessing ourselves. And yes, you can look at those lessons individually, talk 1 and 2, and you can learn something from them, sure, but you won't be able to actually overcome judgment, permanently step out of the judgment zone and into love if you don't take everything you've learned and apply it right now. And keep applying it right now. Apply it to every right now in your life. Quiet that noise that keeps you awake, rushing, stressed out, and sleepless. That noise that is so loud inside your head that you feel like you can't think straight. Because how can you think straight when all kinds of other thoughts you didn't realize you were thinking are swirling around all the thoughts you're trying to think? The key to overcoming judgment is to apply that daily affirmation we got last week. Today, I will judge nothing that occurs in every single moment. We overcome it not by ignoring the swirling thoughts we're trying to think so we can focus on the moment, but by becoming still. And remember what the Buddha said, if you're planning ahead, just plan ahead. If you're remembering, just remember. We can look forward or back without fretting or obsessing or allowing concerns about the future constrict freedom in the present. Think about it. Even contemplating the future or the past is a function of present awareness. So become still and let those noisy thoughts be heard. one by one, and start asking important questions about them. Questions like, why are you running around in my head? Why have you been running around in there for so many years? Why haven't I let you go? How do I let you go? Or how about, is there anything I can do to change that thing that already happened? No? Then what do I need to shift in me in order to let it go? Or there's, does it really matter what others think about me? Does it matter what I think about me? Am I letting others' thoughts about me impact the way I think about me in a limiting way? Or maybe, what is it that I feel so pressured to do? What will really happen if I don't do the thing? For example, I asked myself this very question in reference to today's talk. What would really happen if I didn't sit down and figure out what I wanted to say today? The answer is simple, and it's not scary at all. I would stand up here, probably with a stack of books that really inspire me, and either field your questions one by one, assuming you have them, or ask a question myself and talk it out with you so we can find the answer together. That definitely wouldn't be the end of the world that our brains try and tell us it might be, right? It's more or less the way that we approach the end of our Wednesday services. But if I let my brain take control and tell me that disaster will come if I don't write, it'll seem like a pretty horrible fate. Fortunately, I'm rather fond of sorting my thoughts out on paper for Sunday mornings. I get my brain out of the way and I let it come out the way it wants to. And if I'm being really honest, half the time when I let my mouth start flapping unfettered, I forget where I was going before I started flapping. So if I didn't write, we could end up virtually anywhere, including confused. So you're welcome. So Eckhart says to accept whatever arises in the now, within and without. Accept the circumstances with an eye toward truth. Accept them outwardly in your actions or reactions and inwardly without judgment or second guessing, because the truth is, God is good all the time. And I trust that in the very depths of my being. No, it's not blind trust. It's not wise people have told me to trust, so I'm going to close my eyes and cross my fingers and hope that they're right. It's trust that has come about through living my life mindfully and recognizing that even in the midst of my most challenging or painful moments, God really, truly was doing exactly what was needed to get me to a better place. It has been proven to me. It is not just the truth for me, it is an immutable law. And Ernest Holmes said on page 34 of The Science of Mind, there is within every individual that which partakes of the nature of the universal wholeness, and insofar as it operates, it is God. That is the meaning of the word Emmanuel, the meaning of the word Christ. There is within us that which partakes of the nature of the divine being. And since it partakes of the nature of the divine being, we are divine. It reacts to us according to our belief in it, and it is an immutable law. And it appears to each through their belief. It is done to us as we believe. And there's another of those keys that we keep identifying in these talks. As we believe. We've spent all these years of our lives up until this moment observing those around us and mimicking their actions and reactions in order to make sense of the world around us. We've trained ourselves to see things the way that we do since before we had the words to describe them. And it is because we've grown so accustomed to seeing things from this complacent, comfortably safe, judgmental perspective that we are experiencing the things we are. We need to get uncomfortable. We need to forget everything we think we know about how the world operates, about who has power or how to get power, as is the case with many these days. We need to know how to stop feeling powerless. We need to recognize that our lives and resulting opinions of our lives have, up until this moment, been shaped by the belief that we are individuals, alone, against the world, dog-eat-dog survival of the fittest. And I'm telling you today, that is a lie. None of us are alone. We are all connected. Each of us is a wonderful, magical, perfect little individualized expression of God. Not one other exists like you. Never have, never will. You are precious. And the moment we all recognize and realize our incredible worth, we begin to see the equal worth of others around us. You are not powerless. You are powerful. You, with the addition of us, are unstoppable. You, with the addition of all that is, with the addition of the great I am, are all powerful. But how to step into that? Bigger question, how do I step into that without the societally conditioned response of stepping above someone else? Retrain yourself. You've learned all of your present ways by unwittingly training yourself into the experience you're having thus far. So make the active choice to unlearn all of that and embark on a new training regimen. Baby steps. Remember, you've gotten to where you are now by starting when you were a baby. So let me hold that for a second there. I gotta see which slide is up. Okay, is that one? Okay, when I say baby steps, I'm not saying that however many years old you are today, it's gonna take you that much longer to retrain yourself the new way. I mean, it could take you that long. In fact, it could take you far longer than that if you choose not to act, not to utilize the tools I'm handing you or look at the tools other teachers have put out in the world to aid in transformation. If you choose to listen, then ignore the call for mind action. It could reasonably take you an eternity. Or you could choose another way. You could choose to act, and it could take you a moment. In fact, if you really stop to think about it, it will take you exactly a moment. And another. Infinite moments where you consciously choose to step outside your mind, engage in whatever's happening, and behold how amazing it all is, how beautiful, how, understand it or not, perfect. You know it must be, and you know it because God is good when? All the time. Unlearning happens this fast when you choose to stop thinking and start seeing. Because when you see, there is no blame. There is no mistake. There is no wrong. There is nothing but good godness. One of my favorite passages in the Science of Mind is on page 290. And I know I've shared it with you several times before, but that's because it's so powerful. And if you just do what this says, you're way ahead of the unlearning game. We must realize that there is one infinite mind, which is consciously directing our destiny. Declare every day that no mistakes have been made, none are being made, and none can be made. Declare there is one supreme intelligence which governs, guides, and guards, tells me what to do, when to act, and how to act. Having done this in perfect faith, act with perfect assurance. Declare further everything necessary to the full and complete expression of the most boundless experience of joy is mine now. Know this, see it, feel it, and be it. Do this every day. We should all do this until the time comes when it is no longer necessary. When that time comes, we will know it because our demonstrations will have been made. Choose to stop thinking and start seeing. Again, when you see, there is no blame. There is no mistake. There is no wrong. There is nothing but good. Everybody got that? Yeah? Okay, good, because I'm about to take this talk into some potentially extremely uncomfortable waters. Yes, good is sometimes synonymous with uncomfortable. And I know that what I'm about to talk about is an extremely sensitive subject for some of us, but I ask you to sit with me here in the discomfort and wait it out until we get to the lesson. I was called to bring this to you, and even when it makes me squirm, and it did, I do my best to answer those calls. And it isn't my story. What I'm going to share comes from that incredible book I've been telling you about by Gabrielle Bernstein called Judgment Detox. Is it up there?
Not yet.
Not yet? We're getting there. Hold on. There I am. Okay. And boy, does this speak directly to an area of life I've heard discussion about. Often heated discussion. From just about everybody I know for almost 8 years now, despite trying my hardest to stay out of it all. But hang in here with me, because she's got a heck of a point. And she begins on page 46 by saying, 5 days after the 2016 election, I gave a talk at a spiritual expo. The title of my talk was The Universe Has Your Back, based on lessons from my last book. I got on the stage and opened with a very bold remark. I said, given the state we are in, I feel called to change the direction of my talk. I can't stand here today and ignore the division, separation, and judgment that is plaguing our country. I have to speak up. This is not a talk on politics. It is a talk on oneness. This is a time for us to witness our judgment without judgment. And let me hit pause on her story here to reiterate that this is not a talk on politics. I promise you, it really and truly is a talk on oneness. Sometimes we have to see the discomfort of that truth story we've handcrafted out of judgment for ourselves in order to see the division and chaos that story has brought into our serenity. She continues, while I didn't give a political talk, the timing was such that politics was on everyone's mind. Among the hundreds of people in the room, there were many strongly held and divergent political viewpoints. Nevertheless, I spent 2 hours teaching lessons on how we dissolve all boundaries with love, release separation, and show up with more light. I knew that changing the topic of my talk might upset some people, but in the midst of the palpable turmoil, I felt the need to offer guidance, wisdom, and solutions. I did my best to honor both sides of the conversation and bring the conversation back to love and healing. During the question and answer period, a young woman got up and shared about her devastation over the election results. She said, What upsets me most is how much hate and anger I'm seeing online. People are judging one another for their views. I just want to bring more love to the conversation. What do? I replied, post that. Call out the judgment. Shine a light on it by pointing it out. Witness your judgment publicly and share that you want to bring more love to the conversation. She felt empowered by the idea that she didn't have to do anything other than acknowledge her own judgment and get honest. She accepted that by telling the truth about her own judgment, she could be set free. The talk came to an end, and I asked the audience if anyone in the room had a burning desire. Another young woman raised her hand. She said, Gabby, at the beginning of this talk, I almost walked out. I was terrified that you were going to push your political views onto us. I voted for Trump. I am a woman. I've survived 3 physical assaults in my life, and I've had a lot of odds stacked against me. But with all that, I've chosen to get behind a man who I believe will bring the change I want. And I'm standing here proud to say that. The room was silent. I looked at the audience and said, let's honor her for her choice and commend her for her bravery to speak up. Then an audience of strangers, the majority of whom might have disagreed with her political views, got up and honored her for her decision with a standing ovation. In that moment, the group dissolved their boundaries with love. Having spent 2 hours in prayer, meditation, and communication with God, they looked closely at their fear and judgment, and they chose again. They chose to take judgment off the altar and replace it with love. I accepted that the direction of my talk may have triggered some people, and I took full responsibility for that. But I was called to speak up about the division and separation we were suffering. This is a time for oneness, and it is my mission to spread that message in whatever way I can. And that's what I believe you're here for. What we're all here for. Spreading our knowledge of the oneness that is, and actively working to dispel the illusion of separation. And at a time when we can objectively look back on that mess that was the political landscape in 2016 and say that for most people today, the belief in political division is at least tenfold what it was. It is absolutely crucial to everyone in our country to unlearn anything but oneness. And it is fundamentally necessary to extend that unlearning of separation into the whole world, because even to my intentionally ignorant eyes and ears, it seems people are judging themselves to be at odds with one another in cataclysmic proportions. Let me say that again. In cataclysmic proportions. Let that sink in. Can you say that in the history of our world, this is a cataclysmic time? Where so much uncertainty rests? And why? Because we see ourselves as separate. We judge those we see as separate. And we move through the world as though it is only we who have purpose. I want us to recognize all of those at odds judgments and move past them by re-examining the first inspirational reading for today. And I want to give you the actual thoughts that I had as I transcribed it from the Lamsa literal translation. of the Bible for Paul to read this morning. And the last translation was translated from Syriac Aramaic, whereas most of the Bibles you've heard of are translated from Greek, which is odd because you would think it would be Hebrew, but it is what it is. And that is from 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 1 through 30. And I'm going to insert my observations as I read. Though I speak with the tongues of men and angels and have not love in my heart, I am become as sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains and have not love in my heart, I am nothing. One may quote masters of faith and progress, praise the good of all that is, display an aura of righteousness and piousness for all to see, and tell of bright days forthcoming. But if in their heart they do not feel that which they profess to, if in their heart beats a cadence of insecurity, suspicion, judgment, and fear, their words and deeds are empty. For only as you truly believe will it come to be. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned and have not love, I gain nothing. All actions and demonstrations done without true care, without true love for the doing, and without a selfless desire for improvement in the conditions of others, regardless of outward acknowledgement, they return to you hollow, as emptiness, just as your works and deeds were empty of true, pure intent. Love is long-suffering and kind. Love does not envy. Love does not make a vain display of itself and does not boast. Love does not behave itself unseemly, seeks not its own, is not easily provoked, thinks no evil, rejoices not over impurity, but rejoices in the truth, bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Divine love is constant and unwavering through all of time. It requires no acknowledgement, nor does it seek for others to know it. It simply is steadfast and true, with or without audience, because it rejoices in the truth of goodness, in, as, and through all. The only real, true love is one which can see nothing but good, and knows that good is all there shall ever be. Love never fails, but whether there be prophecies, they shall fail. Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish away, for we know in part, and we prophesy in part. Only that pure and steadfast, loving knowledge of perfection shall endure time's movement. The teachings and bluster of impassioned yet empty leaders throughout the ages do indeed hold truth. But the truth was tempered in fear, vanity, and infinite other clouds of the human mind. But when that which is perfect is come, then that which is imperfect shall come to an end. When we all begin to see that every moment is the only moment, that everything happens, has happened, or ever will happen is good, and that love is the guiding force behind all that is, when we begin to see that our differences are nothing more than unique expressions of the divine, our idea of anything less than perfection will fall away into the nothingness it always was. When I was a child, I spoke like a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child, but when I became grown, I put away childish things. As long as one exists in the mind of separation, yearning for days past and longing for a future not yet realized, we are like a child in the darkness, imagining the possibilities lurking in the shadows all around us. Some perhaps choose to remain in that darkness of mind, stuck in the what-ifs. But here, we've grown. We've learned a better way, the way of the ages, as it was always meant to be. Our darkness of past and future, of me and you, of right and wrong, of good and bad, is so far gone from our sight that we can no longer fathom it. For now, we see through a mirror darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then shall I know even as I am also known. And now abide faith, hope, love, these three. But the greatest of these is love. We who are brave and bold and true, we who know who and whose we are, let us meet face to face. Let us look at one another as self and same. Let love be our only truth. In your programs, you'll see a printout of that powerful reading from the Science of Mind that I shared. And if you take a good look, you'll see that I added something. Right after it says, there is one supreme intelligence which governs, guides, and guards, tells me what to do, when to act, and how to act, I added, it is the same intelligence which guides and guards and tells others what to do, when to act, and how to act. Observing this truth, I have no judgment about my actions or those of others, because that is the catalyst we need to jumpstart our retraining. Take that home, put it where you can see it and practice it at least twice a day, once to begin your day and once to end it, and as many times throughout the day as you feel called to. Do that and let us come back together next Sunday, transformed. Thank you.